If I told you my story, you would hear hope that wouldn't let go.
I'm so thankful for the postal department. They put mail into a box that I was not used to getting mail out of because I had just moved to Good Samaritan Village.
Betty came and rang my doorbell.
A couple of my buddies and I were just driving around town seeing if we could
Pick up girls.
We met the very first Sunday that the Milner family came to First Baptist Church.
Right here in this church. We sang in the choir together.
We met through mutual friends, through church.
Youth group growing up.
I opened up all the mail. Well, the last one I opened up, I thought, oops, that one's not mine.
Because she was embarrassed that she'd opened up this man's mail. And so she came over to the door, and she knocked or rang the doorbell. And she says, "Oh, I'm so sorry." She says, "I opened your mail."
Arlene was
15.
15. I had graduated from high school and was getting ready to go into the service.
A couple of weeks later, I guess, she came shopping at Publix where I was working.
Who told you to ask him that?
Locked her keys in her car.
Our first 3 dates were in the church, and our fourth date, Kathy said, "I like the church, but can we go somewhere else?"
But we knew of each other through church growing up, all through the Ocala church camp.
Just started talking to each other and phone calls, and
Here we are,
that's it.
20 years later.
Hesitantly, I explained to him what I had done, scared to death that he was going to yell at me or whatever. Instead, he smiled and said, "It's okay, don't worry about that." And I turned around and I left.
I said, "That's okay, it doesn't matter." I said, "Thank you for bringing it to me, though." But anyway, so that's how we first met.
My buddy started going steady with one of the girls, and he asked me if I was going to go out with Arlene, and I said sure. And he said, "Well, why don't you call her?" And I said, "Well, when I get home, I'll call her." This was
9 days,
9 days later.
and I'd been waiting for a call all that time.
So that I would have to rescue her.
Not true.
I never knew that.
I locked my keys in the car and was heading back into the payphone to call my mom, and he was getting off work.
I think it was deliberate too.
Did I?
And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Gospel concert. And then to church.
Barbecue.
Barbecue restaurant.
Barbecue restaurant.
Here in town.
Yep.
So I asked God if this was somebody that I was supposed to know and somebody that he'd sent to me. And so I asked him, well, if this was somebody that I was supposed to know, why to send me a sign?
I didn't want to start a relationship. That I had just moved in. I was happy with my independence. And he said, well, I think you should know that I'm praying for something different because I've asked God to send me someone that I could love and care for.
I said, "This is Lloyd Geyer, you remember me?" He said, "Oh yeah." So we started going together, and I went into service in the Navy.
6 months later.
And I went overseas for 2 years.
She was chasing me, and I allowed her to catch me.
You're in so much trouble. That is not true.
Her 40th birthday, December 12, 1987.
He said, if I were to ask you to marry me tonight, would you say yes? And I laughed because that was the EE questions. I knew he was in town, and we just mutual. We said just a friend to go see the brother play in his band, and so we went to dinner before the concert.
Here comes Betty again, rang my doorbell, and she had another piece of mail that had been put in her mailbox. And here it was a Billy Graham magazine.
and I think you're the person that he sent to my door. And I said, I don't want to get married, and I don't want a relationship. I like friendship. And he said, we'll see.
And she waited all that time. We wrote each other every day. And I got out of service in 1946, and we got married.
Got engaged and got married a year later.
Yeah, I got home from the service in time to take her to her high school graduation.
First date, I believe we went to Sambo's
Yes.
for cake or pie or ice cream or something after church one Sunday night.
December the 12th, 1987.
At Olive Garden, 192 in Kissimmee.
And then we started dating after that.
I said, well, I wanted to see if you could go to lunch, and I could take you to lunch. And she said, well, that'd be fine, but she says, don't come until around 12:30. And so that was our first date to go to lunch. We went to Red Lobster.
After Sunday school one Sunday, my cell phone rang, and it was him. And he said, I'm coming to the church. Do you mind if I take you to lunch? Well, he was already here, so what could I say? I said, okay. We went to Red Lobster and talked for an hour and a half, and it was like I had known him all my life.
I really think that the Lord did put us together, and she knows that, and in all our conversations, I know that we're meant to be together, and she realizes that too, and I think that she's the greatest thing that ever was, and we're going to have a great marriage together.
Charles, I love you with all my heart, and never thought that I would ever say that to a man. And yet you came into my life, and I think you love the Lord more than I do. And I am so happy that God sent you to me, because I think we're going to have a wonderful life together. And I thank you for continuing to ask me to marry you.
If I told you my story, you would hear a victory over the enemy. And if I told you my story, you would hear freedom that was won for me. And if I told you my story, you would hear life overcome the grave. If I should speak, then let it be of the grace that is greater than all my sin. A winter praising my Savior all the day long.